Deaths from drug overdoses have reached a record high during the pandemic, according to the National Safety Council, and people are more likely to die from an accidental opioid overdose than in a car crash. And the American Medical Association reports that more than 35 states have seen, quote, increases in opioid-related mortality since the pandemic began. And as kids are going back into school, as kids are going back into the regular stresses of the school year and the added stresses of the COVID-19 pandemic, there's, of course, raised awareness and raised concern about the potential for kids to get involved with drug use. And one person that's on the front lines trying to educate kids, educate families, and prevent drug usage and drug misuse and overdoses such as these is Lisa Berkey, the executive director of the Greater West Bloomfield Community Coalition, with us on the MegaCast. Lisa, thanks for coming on again.
Thanks, Tyler. I appreciate being back on.
Appreciate having you on. So this Sunday from 1 to 3, the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities is holding a free drive-up Narcan training at Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital. Care to tell us a little bit about what will go on at that event and why people should attend that event this weekend and get trained on how to use Narcan?
Definitely. So it is a huge collaboration with the Alliance of Coalitions, along with my coalition and the Tri-Community Coalition. So 2 of the 21 coalitions Alliance manages, along with Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital, Maple Grove, West Bloomfield Fire Department, and a new organization called JARA, Jewish Addiction Resource Alliance. We're all collaborating together to have this very important event on Sunday from 1 to 3 at Maple Grove, which is in the back of Henry Ford's property. And how this will work is you will enter in off of Maple. You'll be directed to the back where Maple Grove is located, and you will be trained in your car. You don't even have to get out. So it's a very COVID safe way to learn, and it's quick and easy as well. It should take less than 10 minutes. Excuse me. And after you're trained, you will receive a bag with a Save a Life kit in it, which includes 2 doses of 4 milligram nasal Narcan. And the reason it's such a large collaboration and why we think it's so important, being trained on giving Narcan isn't just because you may know someone who is an addict. It is a way to make our community safer. If we're all trained, then we're making West Bloomfield and Greater West Bloomfield a safer place, because if we see somebody that has overdosed, we can help save a life. So it's just like schools having EpiPens or any heart-saving device. This is just a way to help our community be a safer place.
You must be 14 years of age to receive a Save a Life kit, which includes 2 doses of 4 milligrams of nasal Narcan that can be used to help combat a drug overdose in yourself or in somebody else. And you'll be able to learn how to administer that Narcan safely and get yourself a Save a Life kit at this event on Sunday. That's again Sunday, September 19th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. With the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities at Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital's Maple Grove Center. That is located on West Maple Road in West Bloomfield Township. The address 6773 West Maple Road in West Bloomfield. So Lisa, we talking about drug overdoses and drug misuse. Over the course of the pandemic, there's been a lot of ebbs and flows, a lot of changes, things that got severe and harsh changes in regular life, especially early on. Things started to trend back to normal. Now there's a lot more concern. So over the course of the pandemic, how have those constant changes affected the relationship that young people, particularly children and teens in our communities, have with drug and alcohol use and misuse?
So let's start with prior to the pandemic, the opioid epidemic was already just skyrocketing, and we were very concerned. So even prior to the pandemic, and then people during the pandemic chose, and we're not just talking youth, we're talking everybody, drugs as a coping mechanism to dealing with the stresses of the pandemic. And we know that this will continue because the pandemic's not going away. People are dealing with all sorts of financial issues, all sorts of stressors. And unfortunately, people don't know how to cope, and they tend to choose an unhealthy coping mechanism like alcohol or drugs. So it's really important for us to teach people, and especially our youth, on how to cope and how to be resilient, and by choosing those healthy coping mechanisms instead of going towards something like drugs or alcohol.
We're joined by Lisa Berkey. She is the Executive Director of the Greater West Bloomfield Community Coalition with us on the MegaCast. The coalition, in partnership with the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities, is holding a free Narcan training this weekend on Sunday from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock at Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital in West Bloomfield Township. That is located on West Maple Road, just past Drake Road in West Bloomfield. And so recently the Greater West Bloomfield Community Coalition had posted an article from a doctor who lost his son to drugs, and then he shared 12 emojis that parents should know about kids using to speak in their own vernacular, which in this case is emojis, and there's certain acronyms that are always out there that kids are talking about and talking with, and it changes over time. But they're using emojis now to communicate with double entendres for drugs. For example, a snowflake for cocaine, grapes for cough syrup. I saw on that graphic there was a pill that indicated heroin for one reason or another. So what should parents be aware of, and how should they become more aware of what their kids are talking about and what they're actually meaning in some of their texts? Because while it may look like an innocent cloud, or it may look like an innocent snowflake that they're using in a message, it may have a completely different meaning that could be very concerning to a lot of parents.
So that article actually is on our website, www.gwbcoalition.org, and they can see the full article and all the emojis there. They can also see a lot more information on a variety of drugs and educate themselves on what's going on out there. And I think that's what's most important for parents is, one, is be educated and be on top of what is happening today, because the kids are, excuse me, much smarter than we are. So being educated. And the other thing that's important is for parents to continue to communicate with their kids all the time. So educate yourself as a parent with all the tools, and then be ready to have this communication with them ongoing. We provide a program in the elementary schools in West Bloomfield School District called Kids in Charge. And we start educating kids on different substances as early as first grade. So we start talking about prevention very, very early. And I think it's important for parents to remember that, and they should continue the conversation at home, and not just starting the conversation when you may think that the youth has started something. So prevention is very important, and communication.
And just off of this article and my notes as well, some of those drug-related emojis that are being used is, of course, I mentioned a snowflake for cocaine, a cloud that's being used for vape or smoke, a kind of a drooling emoji face for ecstasy, otherwise known as Molly, the pill for heroin, a plug for dealer, and then a tree or a gas pump for marijuana. There's a full list of that, as well as more details from that article from the Today Show on the coalition's website at gwbcoalition.org. We're joined by Lisa Berkey. She's the Executive Director of the Greater West Bloomfield Community Coalition. And Lisa, on top of this Narcan training that's coming up this Sunday at the Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital Maple Grove Center, what are some other programs that are coming on this fall that are coming up for both students and for families that would be important for families and for students, of course, in our communities?
So we have some programs already planned for our middle school. We have a mental health program coming up. We have Anthony Grappito. He is a young man who is a magician and also has had mental health issues. He was bullied. He was a cutter. He had attempted suicide. And he has taken his love for magic and put together a program to help our youth understand mental health and remove the negative stigma and let them know that it's okay to talk about it. In fact, very important to talk about it. We also have a vaping program coming up for our middle school students to talk about the dangers, because vaping is still out there and still happening and just as dangerous. Prior to the pandemic, it was on the news constantly. And then we haven't heard so much about it now, but vaping is still very, very dangerous, and many people are still doing it. So we're bringing a program into the middle school on that. We will have a car in front of West Bloomfield High School that has been involved in a drunk driving car accident. And the reason that is important for people to see and for parents to talk to their youth about is because drunk driving still happens, and that kids shouldn't get into a car if they have been drinking or if somebody else has been drinking. It's very dangerous. So the visual helps for the parents to talk to their youth and for the kids to see. And that will be out in front of the high school for the week of homecoming. And as I mentioned before, we have an ongoing prevention program in the elementary schools called Kids in Charge, and we also have that program continuing in the middle school. And that's just a few things to start, but as the year progresses, we'll have more programming in the schools, and we will have more programs for our parents in the evening. But I think parents definitely should take a look at the website, because there's always information there for them to get more educated. And they also can sign up on our website to receive our emails so that they know about our upcoming programs. And if a new trend comes out, we send information out on it all the time.
We're joined by Lisa Berkey. She is the executive director of the Greater West Bloomfield Community Coalition. They have a Narcan training, of course, this Sunday, September 19th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. at Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital. And that is available for Save a Life Kit, as well as training, and that Save a Life Kit includes 2 doses of 4 milligrams of nasal Narcan that can be administered to help combat an opioid overdose. That training, again, Sunday, September 19th at the Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital Maple Grove Center, located at 6773 West Maple Road in West Bloomfield Township. Learn more about that. Read the article about the drug-related emojis that are being used by kids today to talk about illicit substances on the Coalition's website at gwbcoalition.org. Lisa, before we let you go, anything else that would be important for our audience to know today?
Yes, registration is not necessary for the Narcan training, but is preferred, and you can go to our website to register. You could also, I would imagine it's on the Henry Ford website as well, because it's on their property, so they have the flyer up as well. But it is free, and there'll also be cider and donuts. What more can you ask for?
Yeah, sounds like a pretty fun event. So learn more information, as always, at gwbcoalition.org. Lisa, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Tyler. I always appreciate it.